All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into a high-stakes clinical lecture on the biological mechanics of the aging gut. Today, we're going to rigorously, scientifically dismantle the fundamentally flawed misconceptions surrounding digestive health. Listen, if you're waking up feeling heavy and sluggish and just assuming it's a normal part of getting older, I need you to pay close attention. It is not age, it's a mechanical failure.
Here's our syllabus for today. We'll be covering the intestinal motility crisis, the dietary fiber fallacy, the degradation of our mucosal defense, a breakdown of chemical interventions, and finally, the magnesium mucilage protocol. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The intestinal motility crisis.
So, what exactly is intestinal motility? Basically, it's your gastrointestinal tract's biological capacity to efficiently move waste through the system using coordinated smooth muscle contractions. But here's the thing. When this motility slows down with age, that waste stagnates. And we're not just talking about minor discomfort here. It's a cumulative deceleration of your baseline biology. It creates this quiet, hidden environment of inflammation, literally manifesting as that sluggishness, that heavy bloating, and that low energy you might be feeling every single morning. Your system hasn't broken down completely, it's just severely decelerated.
Which brings us to a massive physiological roadblock. We really need to answer this critical question. Why does the standard reflexive advice to just eat more fiber actually cause such severe dysfunction in an aging colon? Honestly, in this context, it's a recommendation that borders on the absurd. Because for a lot of mature adults, dumping more bulk fiber into the system just leaves them feeling infinitely heavier and, frankly, profoundly bloated. So what's going wrong?
Well, that takes us to Section 2, the dietary fiber fallacy, and why simply adding bulk completely fails.
Look at this comparison, because it brilliantly illustrates the core mechanical failure we're talking about. On one side, you have healthy, highly efficient biological transport. But on the other, this is what happens when you introduce dry fiber into an already slowed internal transport system. Adding dry dietary fiber to this environment, it's literally like adding hundreds of cars to a completely paralyzed highway. The problem isn't a lack of cars, right? It's that the highway itself is at a standstill. So forcing more bulk into the system strictly exacerbates the blockage. You're practically paralyzing the colon.
Moving on to Section 3, degradation of mucosal defense, or the loss of our vital, natural lubrication.
Now, alongside that slowed motility we just talked about, there is a secondary mechanical failure that typically happens after age 60, and it's called mucosal degradation. Think of your mucosal layer as your ultimate biological shield. It's this naturally slippery protective lining on your intestinal walls, and preserving it is absolutely crucial. But as we age, this layer thins out. It degrades. The walls become dry and highly sensitive. When that happens, it becomes physiologically impossible for waste to just glide through smoothly. Listen, you could be eating all the right foods, but without that crucial lubrication, they're just scraping along a dry, unprotected surface. Because of this, trying to just mechanically force things out, it simply doesn't work. True gut preservation requires what I call a strict biological triad. First, we need deep cellular hydration. You have to keep the cellular environment soft. Second, we must reintroduce natural lubrication to dramatically reduce that friction and protect the sensitive lining. And third, we need motility activation via essential minerals. We have to essentially flip the biological switch that gets those smooth muscles contracting naturally again. That is the baseline we have to restore.
All right, Section 4. Let's do a clinical analysis of some common chemical interventions.
Class, let's impartially evaluate a few of the most popular morning quick fixes. Warm lemon water? Well, it provides some mild acidic stimulation. It kind of wakes the system up, sure, but it completely fails to provide that necessary lubrication or true motility activation. Plus, long-term, you're risking tooth enamel degradation. Now, what about senna laxatives? Senna forces these harsh, unnatural muscular contractions. Yes, it clears the system rapidly, but it creates a dangerous physiological dependency and severe irritation in a mature gut. Basically, you're solving today's blockage by destroying tomorrow's natural peristaltics. It's a terrible trade-off.
So, let's pivot and examine some gentler, biologically sound interventions. Take sliced okra soaked in water overnight. That releases a natural plant mucilage. Mechanically speaking, this gel-like substance coats the intestinal walls and dramatically reduces friction. Or consider combining slippery elm with aloe vera. This forms a really thick gel that temporarily protects the gut surface, while the bioactive compounds in the aloe actively support cellular regeneration of the intestinal lining. These are incredibly effective, highly educational approaches to gut preservation. But, full disclosure, they do require strict daily consistency, and let's be honest, they can be a bit texturally difficult for some people to consume.
Now, here's another fascinating clinical approach: diluted apple cider vinegar with honey. This works entirely upstream. The acetic acid helps regulate the stomach's environment, so it actually breaks down food more efficiently before it ever even reaches the intestines. By improving the quality of the input, the output becomes infinitely easier for your beneficial bacteria to process. This elegant upstream digestion is vastly superior to the forced, violent downstream expulsion you get from laxatives. However, it still falls a bit short. It doesn't give us a complete molecular solution to our biological triad.
Which brings us to our final module, Section 5, the definitive magnesium mucilage protocol.
I want you to observe exactly how this specific molecular combination fulfills our triad and builds a complete biological solution. It utilizes a powerful dual mechanism of action. First, magnesium. Magnesium acts as the ultimate motility activator. It safely draws water into the intestines for that crucial cellular hydration, and it relaxes the smooth muscles to restore a natural rhythm. No harsh, forced contractions here. Second, chia seeds. When chia seeds are soaked in water, they expand and form an incredibly thick, protective mucilage gel. This gel perfectly mimics the natural mucosal layer you've lost, providing immediate, soothing lubrication.
So here are the exact parameters of this 24-hour clinical protocol. You're going to add exactly 1 tablespoon of chia seeds to a glass of magnesium-rich mineral water. And listen closely, this next part is non-negotiable. You must let it sit overnight. The seeds absolutely require that time to fully expand and form the necessary protective mucilage gel. Then, in the morning, you give it a quick stir to settle the gel, and you drink it exactly 20 minutes before breakfast, completely on an empty stomach.
Now, a very strict warning on clinical execution here. Consistency matters way more than quantity. Do not try to overachieve and overwhelm your digestive adaptation process by combining this with the okra, the aloe, and the vinegar all at the exact same time. Your gut requires time to adapt. Furthermore, do absolutely not consume coffee immediately after this protocol. Caffeine stimulates rapid transit, which means you'll effectively flush out that supportive gel long before it has any opportunity to properly coat and protect your intestinal lining.
If you take nothing else away from this explainer, I want you to remember this fundamental biological truth. Your gut is not permanently failing simply because you are getting older. Not at all. It is literally just starving for its baseline operational conditions. When you restore those precise conditions, the hydration, the lubrication, and the motility activation, your cellular environment has an absolutely remarkable ability to adjust, recover, and preserve itself.
Class dismissed. But before you go, I'm leaving you with a high-stakes clinical challenge. I want you to test this precise magnesium mucilage protocol for 7 consecutive days. Commit to the process, observe your body's cellular adaptation, and systematically document your physiological response. Pay close attention to exactly how your system feels as that internal environment is biologically rebuilt. So, are you up for the challenge?